Hello, friends, Californians, and fellow patriots. If you've been affected in some way, or if you soon will be affected by the recent LA wildfires, then this video is for you. If you are one of the rare persons who have not been affected, or soon to be affected by the increasing insurance rates, by the real or perceived threat of property damage due to failed fire prevention policies, or the perceived lack of response to the LA wildfires, or if you are somehow more offended by my improper use of gender pronouns over actual content, then this video may not be for you. You may recall recently that California's failed governor, Gavin Newsome, recently purchased a $9.1 million mansion in the state of California. Did this soon parting governor, who survived numerous recall attempts and sat through 3 major destructive wildfires, including the Paradise Fire, the Thompson Fire, and the recent Pacific Palisades and LA wildfires, decide to award himself with a parting gift that came from taxpayer money? After all, what does one do when they have a surplus of unspent election PAC money to survive a gubernatorial recall? Or leftover funds from cutting California's wildfire budget by over $100 million? And speaking of Newsome's $9.1 million mansion, did you know that California recently passed an assembly bill, AB 1785, which now prevents you from being able to look up your own property owner information or from looking up the information on other potential properties? I wonder what that's going to do to all of the investors who claim you can become rich by locating distressed properties and investing in tax liens, because now they can only access this information in California through a realtor or an agency. So now you know what Governor Gavin Newsome was doing when he was passing all of those new laws at the beginning of the new year. That's right. I had received a property tax bill which didn't list the owner information, and I had to call the tax collector to find out if my own property had been stolen from me or if I was listed as the owner, thanks to Newsome and his fellow Democrat cronies' ridiculous policies. And did you know that the real purpose of this bill, which is actually stated in the bill itself, is to protect elected officials like Gavin Newsome from having their property information displayed to the general public, where they could possibly still be held accountable for their actions? Is there any wonder why Janice Quinones, Karen Bass, or Gavin Newsome can go in front of a camera and feel free to lie to the people and cover up a tragedy of their own making through failed watershed management and fire prevention policies? And what did they hope to gain by creating all of this massive property damage that would ultimately destroy lives, drive up insurance rates, put more smoke and contamination in the atmosphere that would lead to the destruction of the plants or wildlife they claimed they were protecting? Was it because Gavin Newsome and his fellow cohorts wanted to cover up some type of scandal, like collapsing the insurance market, redeveloping these areas for low-income housing, selling the land or resources to China? Or did they just want to burn everything down and collapse the economy before President-elect Donald Trump could even take office? They had promised us that there would be an event like the George Floyd riots before Donald Trump could take office. So we attempted to guard ourselves from terror attacks and race baiting by electing Trump as our president. We ignored them, even as they continued to warn us with their threats of climate change. But we never imagined they could somehow use this along with the alien invaders and foreign interests and terrorist groups in an attempt to somehow create fires that would destroy our very way of life? And when these same politicians passed Assembly Bill AB 1785, did they do it to prevent their homes from being doxxed when Californians and their fellow Americans finally woke up from their sleep and realized that their homes and the things that they cherished were either destroyed or being destroyed because of their horrible leftist policies and delayed response in putting out the LA wildfires? And even now, as the tanker trucks arrive from other states to assist in putting out the LA wildfires, in spite of criticism of Newsom's ridiculous policies, they are instead being delayed and cannot even enter the state until the people at checkpoints inspect each vehicle's hoses and brakes. Have you ever witnessed such a ridiculously failed emergency response from a governor and a mayor who are essentially asleep at the wheel? You don't have to look any further than the empty reservoir at the Pacific Palisades to see that something isn't right with California's wildfire prevention policies. With the Paradise and Thompson fires still fresh in California's memories, Newsom has again allowed the vegetation not to be cleared. In an act that seems deliberate, water which could have been used to put out the LA wildfires was released into the ocean to save a fish which hasn't been seen in over 10 years. Even as the fires rage, Newsom and his Democratic cohorts continue to politicize the fire through a suspicious, fact-based website based mainly on Newsom's own rhetoric, while asking for help for wildfire victims in the form of Act Blue contributions. And for those of you who do not know this, Act Blue is a fundraising website for the Democratic Party. It is currently under investigation due to suspected money laundering. But Newsom and Democrats like Elizabeth Warren continue to ask for contributions, but not to fight the fires or to help the victims of the wildfires, but instead to fight against Donald Trump's policies, which they consider to be dangerous. Meanwhile, Newsom and his cohorts, who preside over the state's largest wildfire, which has now burned over 40,000 acres in an area the size of Manhattan, resulted in 24 deaths and the destruction of over 12,000 homes, continue to blame and point fingers. The governor, who managed to defeat his own recall, can still smile and hardly stand still while looking into the camera. How can he look confident to most Californians who would prefer to see him in an orange prison jumpsuit for his complete lack of culpability? If you found value in this video, then please rumble and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.